Welcome to this edition of Under the Radar for Sunday, April 23rd, and yes, I know it's late this week, but I've been busy, so fuck you. And as I do every few weeks, this week I'll be documenting the ongoing shenanigans of those diverse, inclusive institutions of higher learning. So it appears the home of the free speech movement is determined to destroy that legacy, if it hasn't already. You will of course remember a couple of months back, Milo Yiannopoulos was forced to cancel a speech he was due to give because of violent leftists. More recently, we've seen more riots at Berkeley over a pro-Trump rally, where leftists again demonstrated their intolerance of opinions they disagree with. And now a speech due to be delivered by Coulter has been cancelled on safety grounds. Well, that wasn't predictable, was it? Berkeley cancels Coulter's speech over safety fears. The University of California, Berkeley on Wednesday cancelled a scheduled speech by the conservative author Coulter in the latest blow to the institution's legacy and reputation as a promoter and bastion of free speech. University administrators said in a statement that they could not let Miss Coulter speak because of active security threats. In a letter to the Berkeley College Republicans, which was sponsoring the speech, two vice-chancellors said the university had been unable to find a safe and suitable venue for your planned April 27 event featuring Coulter. The letter, written by Scott Biddy, the Vice-Chancellor, and Stephen Sutton, the Vice-Chancellor for Student Affairs, said it was not possible to assure that the event could be held successfully, or that the safety of Ms. Coulter, the event sponsors, audience, and bystanders could be adequately protected. After the cancellation was announced on Wednesday, Ms. Coulter said in an email that she would definitely speak at Berkeley next week. I was invited to speak by two groups on campus, so I intend to speak, she said. And here she is on Tucker Carlson saying exactly that.
And I'm a student of Orwellian language, so this jumped right out at me. This is a statement from Berkeley to students that I'm quoting. We regret this outcome, the outcome being your speech being canceled, especially given our unqualified support for our students' right to bring speakers of their choosing to the university and our deep commitments to the values and principles embedded in the First Amendment. It's the opposite of that, actually, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is. And by the way, I am giving the speech. I don't know. What are they going to do, arrest me? They can put me in the Birmingham jail. But no, I'm definitely giving the speech. I was invited to give a speech, and they went through what college students have come to recognize. They kept piling on, requirements, ruses. You can't speak in the evening. You have to speak in the daytime when kids are in classes. We're not sure which room you're going to use. We won't tell you to the last minute. You have to exclude everyone except students. And although the the intermediaries kept encouraging me to say, this is unfair. They never do this to liberals. I kept saying, nope, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I agreed to all of their demands and then wake up this morning and they send out a letter saying how much they love the First Amendment and freedom of speech, and they're so committed to it. But we're just canceling her anyway.
What was their justification exactly?
Lots of words. Because I called their bluff, and they didn't have another reason to cancel me. One of the excuses was, well, we need more than 4 weeks to prepare for a speech like this. Well, no. If what you're worried about is violent protesters, you want to give them about 4 minutes or, 4 hours and announce where the speech is. You don't give them 4 weeks to prepare to come protest and shut the thing down.
Oh, that's fascinating. So when are you going to show up anyway? What's the date of your new speech?
Same date.
Same date.
Same date, next Thursday, the 27th. I'm not sure if I'll do it in the daytime as they had requested, or do it when, normal speakers, i.e., corrupt Latin American rulers like Vicente Fox are allowed to speak. But I'm definitely speaking next Thursday at Berkeley.
So that should be interesting. Now, one of the features of this kind of campus censorship, as you heard, are the lengths that the college administration often go to impose last-minute additional costs and conditions on speakers, particularly around security issues. Now, I have no doubt that there are some real security concerns, as the intolerant scum of Antifa have demonstrated that they're quite willing to riot and commit violence. But I think a lot of the problem is that college administrators are not willing to punish bad actors, and police are often told to stand down. There was a good article in the National Review this week on that very topic. The leftist mob has sown the wind. Now the whirlwind looms. If the media accurately and comprehensively reported on leftist mob violence, it would see that a pattern has emerged. on campus and in the streets, a violent or menacing core seizes the ground it wants, blocks access to buildings, and shuts down the speech or events it seeks to suppress. This violent core is often surrounded and protected by a larger group of ostensibly peaceful protesters who sometimes cheer aggression wildly and then provide cover for the rioters who melt back into the crowd. After the riot, the polite progressives condemn the violence, urge that it did not distract from the alleged rightness of the underlying cause, and then do virtually nothing to enforce the law and punish the offenders. We've seen this play out time and again as mobs shut down campus speech, occupy campus buildings, and even assault innocent people, all without facing any real fear of arrest or meaningful punishment. In the aftermath of the Middlebury College incident, where protesters blocked Charles Murray from speaking, surrounded his car as he tried to leave and sent a professor to the hospital, academics from across the political spectrum said all the right things. But the authorities have so far done nothing. Conservative Princeton professor Robert George has taken to tweeting a daily reminder that the mob is still winning. Now we're teetering on the edge of a truly terrifying incident, one trigger pull away from a slaughter. Campus and urban progressives have a choice to make. Is this a nation of laws? If it is, then it's time to grow a backbone, protect free speech, punish rioters, and expel those who disrupt the educational environment, regardless of ideology. There should be no more sympathy or leniency for the lawless social justice warrior than there is for the lawless neo-Nazi. Well, it's hard to disagree with that, but I suspect the reason that a lot of these colleges are reluctant to punish the bad actors is because they largely side with their cause, if not their tactics. Personally, I have no tolerance for these shitheads. Bring back the rubber bullets, I say. But anyway, it should be interesting to watch what happens when Ann Coulter tries to speak at Berkeley this Thursday. And while we're on the subject of Berkeley, this one should really melt the snowflakes. Milo Yiannopoulos announces huge comeback tour. Conservative provocateur Milo Yiannopoulos on Friday announced that he's planning a huge comeback tour later this year following his resignation from Breitbart News in February. In light of recent controversies, I'm planning a huge multi-day event called Milo's Free Speech Week in Berkeley later this year, Yiannopoulos wrote. We will hold talks and rallies and throw massive parties, all in the name of free expression and the First Amendment. All will be welcome, regardless of political affiliation, he added. Yeah, I'm sure that'll all go off without a hitch. Now, you may recall earlier in the week that the New South Wales government here in Australia decided to get rid of the social engineering Safe Schools program, driven by the gender ideologues. And it looks like the Tasmanian government is also following suit. But over at that esteemed institution, Harvard, they have a somewhat different view. Harvard tells students gender can change from day to day. Well, that must be confusing. The Office of BGLTQ, they're just making this shit up at this point, aren't they? Student Life at Harvard University has released a new school-sponsored guide telling students to fight transphobia and get the facts about gender diversity. The flyer that was handed out to students on campus asserts that there are more than two sexes and that gender is fluid and changing, often fluctuating on a daily basis. Sex assigned at birth and gender identity are not necessarily the same, the flyer begins, elaborating that anatomical characteristics may not always align with gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, hormonal makeup, physical anatomy, and or how one is perceived in daily life. It then segues into the claim that there are more than two sexes, but this time focuses on biological considerations, citing a post by the organisation Intersex International, asserting that at least 2% of people are born with some combination of male and female genitalia, hormones, or chromosomes. Well, I guess if the organisation Intersex International says so, it must be true. Returning to the theme of identity, the flyer tells students that for many people, cis and trans gender expression, identity, and self-understanding can change from day to day, noting that gender can be expressed through one's speech, mannerisms, clothing, and more. Even makeup and grooming choices are listed among the forms of gender expression, though more extreme examples like hormone therapy and surgery are also mentioned. So there it is again. Gender identity is basically the same as fashion. And they admit as much. But here's the best part. Transphobic misinformation is a form of systemic violence, the document goes on to state. Fixed binaries and biological essentialism manifest in gendered language, misgendering someone, and the policing of trans bodies threaten the lives of trans people. What a load of bullshit. See, at this point, I could write this crap. It's the same every single time. Assert that gender identity means whatever you feel it is. Then, if you refuse to buy into the claims of the cry bullies, you are threatening lives. Well, if misinformation is the problem, then the trans activists are doing the most damage of all. If you're that fragile that not calling you the fantasy gender of your choice will lead you to commit suicide, that should tell you something about your own state of mind. It's not society that has the problem. It's you. So that's going to do it for this week's Under the Radar. Not sure if there will be one next week, as I'll be in Sydney for the Friedman Liberty Conference. So while I'm away, the best thing to do would be to get yourself some independent man swag like this immaculate gentleman right here. Guaranteed to get you through the weekend. See you next time.